Donald Trump placed a federal funding freeze which shut down Medicaid.
What happened?
Donald Trump gave orders to pause all federal grants and loans, and now people can't access Medicaid, which is a medical care program that helps low-income families and covers over 70 million Americans.
What about children that need medication?
Oh, wow. Children will not receive any medication. Hospitals and their employees will not be paid. And people that need life-threatening procedures will be denied in 50 states.
Why is this happening?
The White House said it's because Donald Trump doesn't want government officials interfering with his executive orders. This way, federal agencies have no choice but to comply with Trump's commands. They then said we used $3 trillion in government aid last year.
So what else is frozen right now?
School lunches, food stamps, Medicaid in all 50 states, Section 8, child care assistance, Head Start, which helps poor children get lunch, and many more.
Is this not an attack on the working class then?
A MAGA Congressman, Rich McCormick, said this is a good thing because now starving kids will have to get a job and buy their own food like everyone else. He said it'll teach these kids not to rely on the government and gives America a chance to see who has any value for the future.
Does telling starving children to just go get a job not sound insane to you?
They're lazy! The White House said we spent $3 trillion last year in federal funding, so we need to get rid of it. We're going to build a society off of merit, then when it comes to money, it's survival of the fittest.
And do what? Give it to Trump's friends?
Yes, because it's too late! 2025! Cut Medicare, check. Raise prescription drug prices, check. Start a martial law, then use the military to break up domestic protests coming up. This was our whole plan!
I thought Trump had nothing to do with Project 2025.
You were heavily mistaken! And birthright citizenship, check. Civil rights and DEI protections of the government, check. And free lunch programs coming up. Higher taxes for the working class, check. Rich for the 1%, check. Teach Christian beliefs in school, check. This is simple.
Hey there, Melissa. Well, the freeze is now officially itself frozen thanks to a federal judge who's just issued a pause on the Trump administration's freeze. That freeze was expected to go into effect, or scheduled to go into effect, about 13 minutes ago. The federal judge now saying that will be on hold until Monday as the judge sorts out the competing claims here as to what exactly the Trump administration froze, what legal authority they had to do that, and the arguments presented by the National Council of Nonprofits to all of this. So for now, a judge stopping the Trump administration's efforts to freeze funding to all nonprofits, non-governmental organizations, and states, as the judge says they're going to take some time here to look at this one. Melissa, back over to you.
In a new play for power by President Trump, the White House ordering a halt to all federal aid overnight, a move that could threaten hundreds of billions of dollars for state and local governments and impact everything from education to transportation. The acting director of the Office of Management and Budget announcing in a memo that all of that funding will be reviewed to make sure it complies with, quote, presidential priorities. Now, this move meeting fierce pushback from Capitol Hill, with lawmakers insisting this power of the purse lies with Congress.
Here's what we know about a Trump administration memo that spun up a lot of confusion about key programs you might rely on. It all started when OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, sent this vague 2-page memo to all federal agencies, telling them to, quote, temporarily pause all activities related to obligation or disbursement of all federal financial assistance. It wasn't exactly clear which programs would be affected, but OMB sent another memo, this one more than 830 pages, asking for details and all kinds of questions on nearly 2,600 federal programs, including meals for low-income students, wildfire preparedness, and foreign assistance. In her first White House briefing, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said individual recipients of aid won't be affected.
This is not a blanket pause on federal assistance and grant programs from the Trump administration. Assistance that is going directly to individuals will not be impacted by this pause.
And a senior administration official from OMB told us this isn't a funding freeze, but a review. When Leavitt was asked specifically about Medicaid.
Are you guaranteeing here that no individual now on Medicaid would see a cutoff because of the pause?
I'll check back on that and get back to you.
We're still trying to figure out exactly what this memo means.
Because if this is a use it or lose it type of situation, I'm going to use it. Yeah. I'm on my way to Aldi's right now. I'm finna empty the clip off that EBT card. Because hell nah. Hell nah. No. And then another question. I have public housing. So if you're cutting federal funding, what does that mean for us who have public housing? Like, I'm so confused. I'm mad confused. And it's not to say that he could actually do this and go through with it. Like, we don't know what's going to be affected. We don't even know if it's legal for him to do it. But shit, if it's a use it or lose it, I'm on my way.
Hey friends, Jasmine the journalist here. Now I'm pretty sure you guys have already seen this report up here about the Trump administration ordering federal funding freezes on all public loans, grants, and other types of aids. Now I'm going to be going in depth on this, give you guys a little bit of an explanation, clear up some things. Let's get into it. In a memo from the White House, the Trump administration has paused all federal grants and loans to, quote, review spending and align it with the administration's priorities after over $3 trillion were invested into these programs last year. This includes programs that help families, students, and entire communities, and this freeze hits a lot of areas. So let's get into the people who may be affected by this, and let's get into the type of delays that could be happening here. First of all, I've been seeing a lot of people saying that Pell Grants and federal student loans are included in this freeze. They are not. They are not included. That is confirmed, okay? But other programs like research grants and college funding are being placed on hold, as well as WIC and food stamps could be delayed for millions of families, as well as Section 8 housing programs that help low-income families and individuals, nonprofit organizations providing things like homelessness assistance and food programs, as well as federal funding for public health programs and medical research will see a delay, which could hurt hospitals and health organizations. Clean air and water projects funded by the EPA are on pause, as well as disaster assistance and aid. This isn't just about politics, okay? So if you or someone you know relies on programs such as these, here are 2 things that you can do. 1, contact your local representatives. Ask what they're doing to address this issue. And 2, share this video so more people know what's going on, okay? Update your family, your friends, people that you work with, even your coworkers, okay? And if you like this video, give it a like, give me a follow, share it. I'll be here to, provide you guys with some more updates if I can. Thanks, guys.
Daycares, FAFSAs, grants, food stamps, nonprofits, 501c3s, health insurance, after-school programs, special education, medical research, cancer, infectious diseases, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, affordable housing. All of those programs were to stop receiving federal funding today at 5 p.m. A federal judge blocked this, called this unconstitutional, and issued a stay for only a couple of days. What is happening? It's very apparent. Donald Trump is trying to seize all power of the government and hold it in his right hand like he's some self-righteous king. And he either wants to, A, force a national state of emergency, which would enact martial law, or he would be hoping that we do nothing and freeze and he can just do whatever he wants with the country. He wants to take power away from the U.S. Constitution, away from the people, away from the citizens, and hold it all for himself.
Yo, I'm going to the store real quick. You want something?
Nah, I'm good. But do you need some cash?
Nah, I got my EBT card. Right here.
Ooh. Trump cut those off, big dog.
Wait, what you mean?
Yeah. He cut off the funding. So you might not have any money on that.
He would never do that. He would never do that to me. He would never do that to me.
Why not? Why would he never do that to you? Oh, you guys are friends? Your friends, he knows you, he likes you like that? You go to his house for his birthday? You at his house for Thanksgiving?
Oh, well, no. But
you at his house for Christmas? You know what? You go to the store. And I actually want some Cheetos. Pick me up a little bag of Cheetos.
I can get you Cheetos. That's nothing.
Okay. With your EBT card.
My EBT card work. I guarantee you it's gonna work.
Yeah. Let me get some Cheetos.
Fine. I'll get you Cheetos. I'll get you some Cheetos.
I appreciate you, big dog. Appreciate you.
My EBT don't work. My EBT card don't work. I voted for him. I voted for him. Nah, he would never do this. This Biden. Biden did it.
What?
Biden did it.
How?
Kamala did it. It was Kamala. Kamala did it. It was Hillary. You gotta lock her ass up. They should have locked her up. That's what I'm saying. They should have locked her up, bro. Like, look what she's doing now.
You are in need of the infirmary.
Look what she's doing now.
The White House is putting a halt and a freeze on all federal grants and all federal loans. The memo put out by their budget office yesterday, January 27th, will be enacted today by 5 p.m., January 28th. This halt and this freeze does not affect Social Security and does not affect Medicare, but it does affect the following. Federal grants like the Pell Grant, the SEOG grant, federal loans, direct loans, subsidized loans, unsubsidized loans, Parent Plus loans, Direct Plus loans for graduate students. Check your bill and check your statement and call financial aid. There have been no disbursements of Pell Grants and no disbursements of federal loans. You need to call your college today and see how this affects your spring semester. Wait, that's not all. It will also affect millions of families and low-income households because it's also a freeze on SNAP, food stamps, WIC, Women, Infant, and Children programs, Head Start, Child Care, Title I educational grants and funds, school breakfast, school lunch, Medicaid, Section 8 housing grants. I told y'all this was going to happen. Call financial aid, call student accounts, call any caring adult on your campus that can help you figure out what your next steps should be. In the meantime, get these scholarships.
I bet a lot of you guys are wondering who this judge is, the one that stopped the federal pause by the Trump administration. Well, I found her, and let me tell you who she is. Judge Ali Khan, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Who do you think put her in that position? Joe Biden. Joe Biden is looking out for us. It's like he's looking out for us from the Beyond Girl. Thank you, Joe Biden.
Hey. Who the hell finna freeze some stamps tonight? So the Trump administration just released that they will be freezing federal assistance today. So this will not only be affecting student loans and grants and things of that nature. This is also affecting WIC, Section 8. This is crazy. All hell finna break loose. Oh yeah, it's finna go down. This ain't funny at all. Cause y'all taking away food from these babies. So it won't be affecting Medicaid or Social Security, but it's affecting food. Food is already high. I'm gonna go ahead and turn my phone off now, cause I ain't answering no phone calls. I already know why you calling me. I ain't got it. I only got what I got in here for my kids. Matter of fact, I'm not gonna even turn on D&D. I'm gonna leave that alone, cause I know these stores about to get towed down, and my cousins get down.
Okay, I'm back. I work for a university. We just got an email. For those who said I was lying, we just got an email. It says, overnight we became aware of a memo from the White House Office of Management and Budget ordering a temporary pause to all federal financial assistance. According to the memo, this temporary pause will become effective today at 5 p.m. The memo additionally directs federal agencies to complete an internal review of funding programs and other activities and to submit to OMB no later than February 10th. Our government and relations professionals are looking closely and tracking this with all guidance related to federal research programs. I work for a university under the research department. While it's not unusual for temporary pauses to happen during a transition, action at this scale is broader than we've traditionally experienced. But I'm lying, y'all SNAP office, y'all called up to the SNAP and they didn't know nothing yet. They knew last night, they just didn't tell the employees yet. So the staff will probably know 2 or 3 o'clock today. Y'all know they don't tell us everything at these jobs. Communication and the open door and the transparency is bull. It says we will continue to monitor this rapidly evolving landscape and will keep you informed as we receive new guidance from our federal partners. That's all. Now, this is just me letting you know how it affected me. Imagine the millions of others who it will directly affect. This is affecting me through my job. Not so much as my personal life. I do receive WIC because my son was a preemie. That's the only government or federal assistance that I get. My WIC reloaded today. I'm going to go to Publix or somewhere tonight to see if I can even use it. Be aware of what's going on. Y'all called up to SNAP, and SNAP told y'all they didn't hear about it. They did not send a memo out to their staff yet, but it is slowly trickling down to places. My job said overnight they became aware of the memo. I just found this memo on CNN today.
A federal judge just blocked Donald Trump's funding freeze on federal grants and loans. So in court today, a judge just granted an administrative stay, which effectively places a pause on the Trump administration's latest memo, which stopped all funding to federal assistance programs such as the Head Start program, homeless shelters, college financial aid, and disaster recovery. Not to mention, it seemed like his memo shut down Medicaid portals across the country. But fortunately, a judge just ruled against Donald Trump, which temporarily blocks Donald Trump from having the ability to pause federal funding. Now, it's unclear how long this pause will last, but it's great to see that there are judges in this country willing to stand up against Donald Trump and rule against him. If you guys recall last week, there was another DC judge who ruled that Donald Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship was unconstitutional, and he struck it down. So we're finally seeing some resistance to Donald Trump's agenda. Kudos to the judge today for ruling against him.
Late Monday night, the Trump administration issued a memo through the Office of Management and Budget saying they were going to freeze temporarily federal aid. They carved out and said it wouldn't apply to Social Security and Medicare, but it's pretty vague, and there's a lot of questions about what this might mean and who might be impacted.
The chaos and confusion really is the point, right? If people who are responsible for administering these grants, if they don't necessarily know what to do, they may be less comfortable doing anything because they're worried about the potential legal implications of what could happen if they do act. But I mean, what happens to the receiving folks on the receiving end of this, right? I mean, like, what are programs, if not the people behind them? People are on the receiving end of these programs. While this is being paused for 90 days or for however long the president is able to keep this in place, people will be affected. The programs like SNAP, I mean, we're talking about nutrition. Obviously this is the president trying to say that this is part of, him addressing the woke agenda in this country. But I mean, these are real programs that affect real people.
The other piece of this, though, too, is you make the point that Congress has the power of the purse. This is money that has already been allocated. This is stuff that was in the Inflation Reduction Act that has already been shuttled out the door, congressionally approved, and there are going to be legal questions around, word of the day, impoundments. Like, can the White House and can the federal government say, I know that this money was appropriated for X, but we would actually like it to be for Z, so we're going to put it there. Can they do that?
That is the open question, right? And also asking the folks that are administering these grants, these agencies, to justify these line items, as you said, that have already been approved. This money has already gone out. So having them kind of go back and have to explain what this money is going to be for and how it would be used, is that even allowed if it's already been approved and people are already expecting and waiting on this money?
The health care for multiple lower-income families is threatened today. Donald Trump signed an executive order to freeze the federal funding for multiple federal programs, grants, loans, organizations. We don't know the full effect that this will have on Americans and a lot of organizations and programs that help our lower-income families. But we know that there is going to be an effect. We know that the White House does not see this as an issue. We know that they say that this is temporary, but a day without health care, a day without prescriptions, a day without child care, a day without certain protections can be a hardship that some families cannot come back from. But of course, Donald Trump and his administration does not understand that. These elites, of course they don't understand this. Of course they don't understand why people are scared. Of course they can't even address that fear at a press conference effectively. Of course. Healthcare is not a joke. It's not something that you can just play with. It's not something that you can just freeze. We don't play with people's lives, and a president shouldn't play with your life or your livelihood. SNAP and Social Security and Medicare seem to be safe, but for how long? I feel like we're just guinea pigs at this point. And so many of you wanted this. So many of you wanted this. America first, huh?
Freeze on federal funding? Are you worried about losing your food stamps? Well, let's talk about it. So once I saw all this mass hysteria online, I'm like, let me do my research. The freeze on federal funding is going to impact those on Medicaid. It's going to impact those that are getting certain like grants and loans for school, which I'm pretty sure could be like things like the federal Pell Grant, which I remember I was a recipient of that when I was in school. Now, I don't know if this impacts financial aid, but that could possibly be on there. And there's a couple other things that it's impacted, such as, I guess, like housing funding, things along those lines. But from what I am reading, food stamps is not one of the things that is impacted by this freeze. I repeat, food stamps are not impacted by this freeze. I could understand the frustration and also the fear of a lot of people not knowing what's going on. Like every day we are waking up to something new from the Trump administration, and it's been a lot. But I do encourage everybody to make sure that whenever you hear something, do your research, figure out the facts before you panic.
Calm down, everybody. I know y'all heard about Trump putting a freeze on federal spending, and I think that had everybody confused. Why did he do that? Allegedly, they did this to conduct an across-the-board review to uproot progressive initiatives. And if you keep reading, it says this sets the stage for a constitutional clash over control over taxpayer money. What we do know is the vaguely worded memo issued by the Office of Management and Budget, combined with the incomplete answers from the White House throughout the day, left lawmakers, public officials, and average Americans in chaos. But this says struggling to figure out which programs would be affected by the pause. Anyway, for those who were about to panic just a few minutes ago, according to the Washington Associated Press, a federal judge temporarily blocked a push from President Donald Trump. The judge's order was prompted by a lawsuit filed by nonprofits that receive federal funding. If you know which nonprofits those were, go ahead and leave them in the comments, because I forgot to look before I made this. For everybody who stays in the know, leave your predictions about what this means once the judge unpauses the pause. Or if you know somebody who was concerned about this, share this to them and tell them,
if this ain't the time for America to wake up, baby, wake up and see what is taking place. Today at 5 o'clock, Trump has already signed into order that the federal assistance, like Medicaid, Medicare, federal funding will become at a halt at 5 o'clock. This goes for Medicaid, student loans, small businesses, all of this stuff. It's sad. Some of you all are laughing about it, where people are getting assistance where they're not even working in their rent, maybe $2 or $3. Okay, I get that. I understand that. But this is bigger than that. It's a little more. I think about things like the students that's trying to get an education. I think about the seniors. I think about the small businesses. This is going to affect a lot of stuff. And for the ones that's out there on the sideline laughing, you will be affected in some kind of way.
If you rely on federal student loans or Pell Grants, listen up. And this includes not only students, but also parents who are getting Parent Plus loans. President Trump's budget office today, Monday, January 27th, ordered all federal agencies to temporarily block disbursement of grants and loans other than for Social Security, Medicare, and other programs providing direct aid to individuals. This order includes Pell Grants and federal student loans, including direct loans, direct Grad Plus loans, and direct Parent Plus loan disbursements. Pell Grant money hasn't been dispersed yet, neither have federal student loans. If you're impacted, your school probably already knows about it. I don't know how schools are going to react, but it's a good idea to call your college first thing in the morning to see if this is going to impact your enrollment for the spring semester. The memo says the temporary pause, effective starting at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, is intended to ensure agencies are complying with Trump's executive orders to root out Marxist equity, transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering policies from programs within their purview. The pause could also affect a wide range of programs that aid lower-income households, including Medicaid, school breakfast and lunch programs, Section 8 rental assistance, Title I education grants, temporary assistance for needy families, state grants for child care, Head Start, and the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, or WIC. I'm sure there are going to be lawsuits over this, and I have no idea how it's all going to turn out. Suffice to say, this is going to impact the daily lives of millions of Americans.
Here's something you didn't know. President Donald Trump just paused federal grants and loans, sparking a heated debate across the country. His executive action temporarily halts federal funding programs like grants, loans, and cooperative agreements while excluding benefits like Social Security, Medicare, and Pell Grants. The goal: to review how taxpayer dollars are being used and ensure they align with his administration's priorities. But not everyone is on board. Some call it a bold move, ensuring funds go to their intended purposes, like real causes that matter. Others say it's unfair, claiming it disrupts programs that need the money now, potentially leaving some organizations struggling to operate. Is it justifiable? It depends on who you ask. Supporters argue it's a long overdue check on how federal funds are spent, while critics call it unnecessary and even harmful, especially to programs already stretched thin. One thing is clear: it's created a deep divide between those who see it as a strategic move to protect tax dollars and those who view it as an overreach. The real question is, do you think federal money should be frozen until it's fully reviewed? Or does this unfairly halt progress where it's needed most? Whether you agree or not, one thing's for sure: this decision has everyone talking, and its effects may ripple for years to come.
As of today, the Trump administration has just paused federal financial assistance programs to review to see if it aligns with his projects. So according to a memo by the Office of Management and Budget, this pause impacts various loans and grants but exempts individual payments like Social Security. My name is Jamelia, and I'm the owner of the Woods Hub, an online farmers market that's dedicated to making shopping local more convenient. This is a food page where we talk about helping small U.S. farmers and also updating people about what's going on, the things happening in the food industry, and news that can impact it. Now, while I've seen a lot of discourse about this potentially impacting food stamps or supplement nutrition assistance programs, the memo does not specifically mention SNAP or food stamp benefits. The memo also exempts individual assistance programs, and food stamps will be considered one of those. Therefore, it's likely to be exempt. However, the language is really broad and is leading to a lot of confusion. I personally hope that this is not the case because there's a lot of Americans who depend on help. If you have never needed these types of programs, you wouldn't understand how devastating hearing something like this could be to you.
Donald Trump this morning issued a widespread, unilateral, and completely illegal freeze on federal spending, as directed in Project 2025. Not only has this frozen food assistance, federal disaster relief, it has also frozen Medicaid in all 50 states, effectively stripping 72 million Americans from their health care. This was a Project 2025 directive. As a matter of fact, it was leaked that the memo used by the Office of Management and Budget that was sent out to the federal government saying, hey, we're gonna freeze, we're gonna pause federal spending. It turns out that the literal memo was written by Project 2025 authors, and now they are scrambling to scrub the metadata from the internet so as to not let that leak. You remember that, right? Project 2025 being that program that Donald Trump assured us he had nothing to do with, written by far-right ex-Trump MAGA loyal lunatics about, cementing executive authority under Donald Trump, stripping checks and balances, and using that unparalleled power to press a dangerously regressive right-wing agenda. Well, it turns out they're literally writing the freaking memos going out as part of this federal spending freeze. Donald Trump lied to your face repeatedly about Project 2025. It's not an opinion. It is a fact. You were right, and they lied to you.